Hi guys, welcome back to Me Being Cheap. So I've got another whiteboard video for you guys. It's been a long time since I've done one of these, but I'm a big math nerd, so. Okay, so for those of you that are new to my channel, welcome. My channel started as a way of getting out of debt, specifically paying off my mortgage. I've already done that. So the name of the channel is Me Being Cheap, and so I'm all about saving money. And I like to do numbers analysis. So I make videos on topics as they come up in my life. I work a full-time job. Michael works a full-time job. So we don't have time to just create things, study them for fun. So it's just as things come up, that's what the topic of the video is. So here recently there's been a lot of gardening and canning videos because that's what we're working on. But I do have a situation going on with my 2002 Chevy Suburban. So when we took that down for our wedding, we seem to have lost park, which indicates that there's something going on with the transmission. It's still drivable, but I work from home, so I really don't have anywhere to drive, and if I do have to drive somewhere, I just take the old truck. But I thought I would do some numbers analysis and kind of see when do you draw the line, when do you get something new, those types of thoughts, just looking at it by the numbers. So I have my whiteboard here. Okay, so I bought that Suburban in June of 2014. So I have had it 6 years now. And I paid $5,300 for it. And I did have to shop around looking on eBay, or not eBay, Craigslist, and you know, a lot of the local sales and stuff, just trying to find a good deal on that. But I bought that Suburban. I thought it was a good deal, seemed to be in good condition. The value of that Suburban now, if it was repaired, and everything's working on it properly as it should, given the condition that it's in, which it was rated as a good condition, the value of that now is $3,210. So over the course of 6 years, that Suburban has lost $2,090 in value. So not bad, not bad. Once a car is fairly old, it tends to retain what little value it has left. It tends to retain it, especially on trucks. So yeah, it hasn't lost much value. So, for grins and giggles, if I was to buy a new Suburban, and I looked these numbers up on autotrader.com for my area, this is where I got the value of what mine's worth now. If I were to buy a brand new 2020 Chevrolet Suburban, the ones for sale in my neck of the woods are $59,995. That is a lot of money. That's $60,000. And if you look at the ones from 2015 that are for sale, they're only going for $34,755, which is still a big chunk of change. But you can see that it lost $25,240 in value. So as soon as you drive a new vehicle off the lot, you're going to lose a lot of money. So definitely, if you're going to get a vehicle, don't buy a brand new one because you're going to lose a lot of value. I would not pay this much for a vehicle. If you've got the money to do that and feel comfortable doing so, more power to you. I would just prefer to spend my money on other things that are more important. So vehicles are not important to me. They just need to work most of the time and get me from point A to point B. Otherwise, I really don't care much about it. I'm not out to impress anybody, and if anybody was overly concerned with what I was driving, I probably don't care about them either. It may sound harsh, but if you face it, that's a lot of times why people buy the flashy cars, or it could be cars, it could be something else, but they're just, either they're uneducated about the buying process and don't realize how much money that they're spending. And they just sign up. They're like, okay, I can afford the monthly payment, so I'll just get something new. That way I know it works. Or they're really just trying to impress somebody. So anyhow, that's just my thought. I mean, there may be other reasons why people buy new vehicles. But anyhow, so let's say that you were to buy this $60,000 Suburban, and this is current interest rate that I could find 3.11%. On a 60-year, that's a 5-month note. You're spending $932 a month. So just stop and think about that and think, what could I do with $932 a month? For a lot of people, that's probably pretty close to their mortgage payment. They could certainly double up on mortgage payments and pay their mortgage off and be debt-free. That's one thing that you could do. You could invest the money into your retirement. You could use that money to pay off other debts, or maybe invest in yourself. So like, for example, if you never got a chance to go to college, and going to college would get you a degree where you're more marketable, could be more successful, more money, what have you, you could invest that $932 in yourself. Or let's say you're working a job that you really don't like, but because you've got a $932 car payment, and if you're like most families in America, you probably have more than one car payment. So you may have two $932 car payments, plus a mortgage and credit card and everything else that most Americans like to do. So, you know, you may be trapped into a job that you don't like because you're working to pay for this car payment on a vehicle that's probably going to be worth about half the amount in 5 years. And then in 5 years, you've just got a used vehicle, you know? So just think about it. Think about what you're doing. Make smarter choices with your money. So looking at that, if I was to buy a newer model Suburban, I would be spending a lot of money. Now, I could go out and, you know, pay for this cash. I'm not going to give up all my cash for that, though. I mean, that's kind of crazy. I would rather, if I was going to do something, maybe get one a little older. But let's talk about what's going on with the current vehicle and how much money I have put into it in 6 years. And keep in mind, for most of the 6 years, I was a single woman, and so I was having to do a lot of maintenance type things, shopping type things, a lot of those things on my own, including finding mechanics that could work on the vehicles. All right. Now, I hesitate to share some of these expenses as cost of owning the vehicle, because I believe no matter what vehicle you drive, you're still going to have basic maintenance. You're still putting tires on it. You're still changing belts and hoses. You're probably, if you have the battery more than 4 years, or the car more than 4 years, you're going to be putting batteries on it too. So I have this cost to own. So again, the purchase price was $5,300. Right away when I bought that Suburban, the tires were shot on it, so I immediately had to buy tires, and that was $689. Probably a couple years later, I went on a vacation. When I was on vacation, the wheel bearing went out, and then I also had to replace some brake pads and had the rotors turn. That was $461. And this Suburban has had its share of oil leaks. So I've had several of those fixed. Currently, it is not leaking oil, knock on wood. But I had the oil filter housing gasket repaired at $140. And some of that $140 was actually the oil change, because I had that done at an oil change place. Or that was the oil filter housing gasket. I had the oil pan gasket repaired or replaced for $373. I had to put a battery on there. It was $104 just off the shelf from Walmart. I had the rear main seal replaced along with the air conditioning repaired. I struggled with that air conditioning and couldn't get it going myself. So I had them take a look at it. And I think at that time they also replaced the valve cover gaskets. But anyway, that was $690. Had to put another set of tires on for $700. And earlier this year, when we were on vacation out in Colorado, I had to do the brakes at a local Midas place. It was kind of extreme, but definitely had to be done for driving in the mountains. And that was $552. Total cost of ownership, $9,009 for 6 years. That works out to $1,501 for the year, or $125 a month. So if you look at the cost of ownership, the purchase price plus the repairs I've had to do over the years, and routine maintenance, which I lump the tires and battery in as routine maintenance because I think that's something everybody has to do. You know, it was $125 a month. So if we look at a car payment on a new Suburban is $932. You know, I don't know, that's like $800 more dollars a month that I think is not necessary. That could be $800 that you're using to invest in yourself, invest in your retirement, fund your kids' college education, get out of debt, move yourself a little higher instead of making a payment on a vehicle that as soon as you drive it off the lot, it goes down in value substantially. And vehicles, they don't retain value. The older they get, the more use they get, the less they're worth. So in my opinion, is to go out and purchase a new vehicle or even one that's slightly used. It's a lot of money. And I don't know, myself, I'm a tightwad. I can't justify doing that. All right, so let's talk about the transmission. So how do you know when to call it quits? Okay, so part of the thing that you have to consider is if you have to buy a vehicle, you also have your time invested. So if you're shopping around, you're going to have to look on internet sites, you're going to have to go for test drives. Even if you're shopping from dealers, you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to do some negotiation. Unless you just want to walk in there and pay whatever their sticker price is. Being the tightwad that I am, I would not do that. So I always buy secondhand vehicles. I buy them off of Craigslist. That's where I got the Suburban from. That's where I got my Z from. That's probably where, when one of my vehicles completely drops dead, I'll probably pick up another one off of Craigslist. But that takes time. So when I bought that Suburban years ago, it took me several months of kind of going around on the weekends when I had time and test driving before I found one that I liked. So you do have your time as an investment. So that's not something I'm looking to do right now. I don't really enjoy shopping, and I don't enjoy shopping for vehicles. So if I could avoid it, that's great. So I did call a mechanic, and I had this mechanic that I really liked, and he had a stroke and he had to shut his shop down. So I feel bad for him, but he was a good mechanic, and so that made me a little sad. Sad that he had a stroke, and then sad he had to close his business down, because that's bad. But anyway, I found another mechanic, and the way I found this mechanic is I put it out there on Facebook, and I said, hey, who do you recommend for transmission repair? And there's a couple people recommended this one guy, and I called him up, and he talked me through. He seemed to be quite familiar with the transmission, so he pretty much kind of knew a couple things that it could be. And best case scenario is the Park Paul or Park Prawl, not sure what that is. To replace that is $225. And worst case scenario, you had to take apart like the crankcase or something, and it is $660. Either way, a bargain in my book, because I don't have to go shopping for a new vehicle. So, I would just add that to the cost of ownership of this Suburban, and instead of spending $9,009 over the course of 6 years, it may be $9,669, which still a bargain. So I will be taking the Suburban, not this coming week because he's very busy, but it'll be the following week to have the transmission repaired so that I can actually drive it and put it in park without it rolling off, because before I was having to carry these blocks of wood and like put them up against the tires so they didn't roll. But anyhow, these are my thoughts on vehicle ownership and why it makes sense to buy a used vehicle, one that's substantially more used than others. A lot of these repairs, you know, if you've got a newer vehicle, maybe you're not having to fix leaks. These were not emergency repairs. I think the only one that was probably emergency were both sets of tires, obviously the battery, because I had a cell that went out, and I have to tell you that battery that I replaced was actually the one that was original to the Suburban. So I mean, that was an old battery. They usually only last 4 years, but that was pretty old. So those are the only ones I would consider emergency, and possibly the brakes on that trip in Colorado. So my opinion on that is definitely buy the used vehicles. Even if you've got a few more repairs, none of these repairs were super serious or urgent. And, you know, I don't think I've been left on the side of the road with the Suburban. I don't think I have. I can't remember. I don't know. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Have a great day.